Hey, how's it going? Welcome to SQL in the City. Let's get this thing started, right? My name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software. This is my contact information. If you've got any questions after today, I'd really like you to get in touch. I want to help out. Anything we're talking about today, any of the topics, DevOps, all the fun stuff, and certainly what I'm going to be talking about today, which is coding standards. I would love to get in touch with you and have a chat. So you've got my contact information now, so let's get going. Let's talk standards. Now, standards are a very important part of everything that we do, so we've got to have a standard for the organization, but that's not the kind of standard I'm talking about. That's not really it's a nice standard and all, but okay, so Standard Oil is out of business, and so probably we shouldn't be talking about them a whole lot. That's not the kind of thing that we need to talk about, because we're talking about businesses that are actually in business. Okay, so Foot Locker, great. All right, so I'm going to use that. We're going to go with that. We're going to go with Foot Locker. We're going to talk about that. The idea here is that a set of standards is a set of certain things that you want to maintain. So for the Foot Locker, everything has to go in a particular spot. All the underwear has to be folded just so. And we're going to talk about that from a coding standpoint. So from a coding standpoint, we want to fold our underwear just the correct way. Well, okay, so maybe that's not it. What we actually want to do is write the code a certain way. We want to have behaviors that are common. We want to have standards and approaches that are, standard. Hey, there's a word, across the enterprise. So we're doing everything the same way. And so the idea is that by doing it in a similar fashion over and over again, we achieve more clarity. It makes it easier to read, easier to understand, because we're all doing it the same way every time. And we've got, a standard that we set from the enterprise, and we then can see each other's code in a similar fashion, and it makes it easier to hand code from one person to the next, or better still, look at your own code 3 and 5 years later and see stuff that, it looks like what you would expect it to look like. You're not going, what the heck is this? What idiot wrote this? I said that once, and it was my code. No, never do that. It's really embarrassing. But the idea here is that if you have a standard, if you have a method and approach that you use over and over again, it makes it easier to get good code. And frankly, you can then start to get better performing code, better operating code, and more accurate code. So that's why we try to arrive at some standard practices. It's not just about folding your underwear correctly. It's getting that code out the door so that it works well. Now, SQL Prompt can help. SQL Prompt's got a lot of stuff that it does that's going to push you through and make things work in a more standardized fashion. First off, of course, is formatting. SQL code, everyone's famous for hitting Control-K, Control-Y, getting their code formatted, right? But we could have a standard that we put in the entire enterprise, and then we always publish to a single standard. Now, it doesn't matter that if I prefer my code commas to the right, which is correct, or Steve here prefers his commas, to the left, which is wrong. That doesn't matter, because with SQL Prompt, I can format it my way, and even if the industry, not the industry standard, sorry, even if our enterprise standard is to put those commas on the left side, I can switch that back before I check my code back into source control, if that's how we want to work it. But either way, I can ensure that all the code published by our organization all looks the same. We've got a standard. It makes it easier to read. It makes it easier to communicate across teams and between individuals. Further, SQL Prompt offers us snippets. Now, we can put the snippets in a shared location, in a central server in one spot, and share those snippets across so that we've got a single starting set for different kinds of code that we want to write. If we want to, write CTEs a certain way, common table expressions, we can put that standard in to a snippet, and then everyone pulls it down together. If we want to have a comment that's always the same, we can put that into a snippet, and we can put that into a central location, and everyone can pull that same comment structure out and use it inside their code. All of this offered up by SQL Prompt. Further, we can set up alias naming, and there's a way to set up a standard inside of the alias naming, and we can have that work out of SQL Prompt and do that for us. We can also add or remove brackets on the fly. Why you would add brackets, I don't know, but I know people that actually prefer their standard to have brackets on every single object. Makes me shudder, but that's how people do it. That's fine. We can add those things in and or remove them. Remove any ones that are unnecessary is my place. But we can apply that across the board. And then finally, we can ensure that every single statement that you write is completed with a semicolon. No, not started, completed. Don't put semicolon with, that is horrific, it's bad, it's wrong. Yes, I know it makes your code work, but why don't you just put the semicolon at the end of the line where it belongs? More and more of the code inside of T-SQL, more and more of the code inside of SQL Server is requiring that statement terminator of a semicolon. So we'll put that in at the end, and Prompt can put that in for you, and therefore, as part of your formatting, as part of everything you do within T-SQL, you get all of this stuff. Now, all of these things come together to give you a set of enterprise standards. This makes it so that you can define the formatting on your code, you can define snippets, you can define whether or not you put in semicolons, you can define all these things for your entire organization, and then Prompt can lead you through that. And that's great. It's good stuff, gets you through the day. We've got more. We have recently added, in SQL Prompt version 9, it's just come out, we've added code analysis. That means we can look at your code and apply standards and behavior to the code, not simply formatting, not making it pretty, or better still, making it accurate. We can now start to make it perform better. We can now start to make your code behave properly within the version of SQL Server that you're on. We can start to eliminate poor practices. We can start to ensure best practices. We've got a whole series of things, and we're going to walk through a bunch of them. I'm going to show you how it works. But we can spot deprecated functionality. We can see that as you type it and prompt you, prompt, get it, to ensure that it gets fixed on the fly as you're working. But not just that, if you open up scripts, we will check those scripts too to see if they're meeting the standards. Don't believe me? Well, let's go take a look at it. I like playing with the code better than anything anyway. So this is Management Studio. Everyone raise your hand if you've seen this before. Okay, cool, good, that's good, that's good. All right, let's get started. So standard prompt, SSF, space. Oh, you have to change the default. Somebody go to, what's it called? Where do we put all the user voice? That's right. Somebody go to user voice and ask them, please, the space should be a default. It should be on by default. I have to change it every time I get into this thing. Makes me crazy. Let's go to sales order header. And I want to zoom in here and just point this out. You guys might notice there's a little squiggly line right there. See that? Now that's new. That's not something you would have seen before inside a prompt. That's one of our little bits of checking the code. Look at that. Now if we say tab, now there we go. That's what I wanted to show. Right there you can see, whoop, it moved the cursor. Look at that. You can see that it says asterisk in select list. Yes, if you write select star, we can prompt you to not do that anymore. And then of course, prompt itself has always had the tab functionality, which fixes, right, everything, gets you your columns. Before we keep going with this, so let's step back a second. I get excited about doing the new stuff, so I keep forgetting to review the things I want to review. Let's make sure that we've got code analysis enabled. You can see that. And let's go to the snippets manager. And you can see that there's a location. Now right now it's running locally. I've got my little VM set up, and when I'm doing the VM stuff, I'm traveling with it, so I don't point it back to anything here at Redgate in a central location. But you just say, you know, I want to pick a particular location, and then off it goes. You open up a normal Explorer window, and you can pick wherever you want it to go. So any kind of network share can then store all of your snippets together, and that way that you can have a set of code standards that everyone uses. That, remember that comment that I mentioned earlier. You may want to have that structure put in place. Nice, easy, well done, simple to set up, and you can have it for every single person in your enterprise because you point them all to the same location. It's nice and simple. Same thing works if we go and look at our formatting styles. Now this has gotten a lot more complicated or I wouldn't even say really complicated, that's probably a bad way. It's gotten extremely sophisticated, and it does a lot more formatting for you in a lot more ways, and so it gives you a whole bunch more functionality. But again, the key here is that we've got a folder where we put that stuff. Now that folder, if you just do the install and don't do anything else, that folder's local and great. But you can make that folder out to a network share again, and then we've got styles. So you can have a house style or a team style that's shared and modified and updated and maintained, and that we can all share and we all work off of it. So that way, if you do want those commas before, you can do those commas before, right? There it is. It's horrific, makes me want to cry. I much prefer my normal standard, but you can go either way on that. So you can get what you need done. And yeah, I pick on commas just because it's funny. Let's see, what else? We mentioned, zoom in. We mentioned that SQL Prompt can do removing brackets and adding brackets, and that does it on the fly. And it does insert and remove semicolons on the fly, and the semicolons, if I were to format this, Control-K, Control-Y, you can then see that the semicolon was added there at the end automatically, right there. So that's all coming in all automatically. Now, that's cool and all. And you've seen the little prompt there that says, oh, don't do select star. Okay, fine, whatever. Let's play, right? Why not? Let's join to sales order detail. And you'll notice that it's putting in aliases for me as I type, and it automatically, oops, Grant typed in the wrong place. Never type in demos, kids. Did I get rid of the comma? No, I did not. That's going to cause me problems. All right. Don't try this at home. I am a trained professional. So you'll notice as I'm typing, it's putting those things in for me. It's putting in the aliases for me. That's an option inside of SQL Prompt. I'm not going to go show you that right now. Go check it out. You can control how it behaves. But you'll notice every time I type sales order header, it's going to be SOH. Every time I type sales order detail, it will be SOD. It's using a standard method to pull that stuff together, and you can apply that to yours to ensure that you've got a common way to go it. But what I'm doing is a little weird here, because this is an old style join, right? I'm listing all the tables using commas to list them all out, and then I'm going to just join them together by SOH dot sales order ID is equal to SOD dot sales order ID. And that's grand because it works. I mean, that's functional-ish. We can format it, make it a little easier to read. But you'll notice I've got a nice big green squiggle now. So what's going on with that? Well, let's hover the mouse over it. And you'll see it says, old style joins used from table 1, from table 2. Oops, let's get the right button, guys. There we go. Come on. Okay, so I've noticed something about the new toy. It moves the cursor at the same time as it moves the, makes that pretty circle. That's a shortcoming. That's going to cause me issues. The old style join stuff is there, and you can see it as it goes. That's pretty cool. So now it can automatically bring up that information. We can get more. If we click on it, I said click. Oh wait, no, sorry, I was doing the wrong thing. We go over here, there's a nice little icon. We click on that and it brings up a window, a dockable window, so we can actually have this up all the time if we want to. And it gives us, the same thing that we said before, old style joins is used from table 1, comma, table 2, comma, table 3. But further, it starts to explain what's going on. It says you're using ANSI style joins via, use ANSI style joins via join. This form of SQL is no longer used. It's always better to specify the type of join you're using, inner, left, outer, all that fun stuff, because it causes issues and it could cause problems with your code. All right, so we now know not only that we've got a problem, we've identified what that problem is, we've also explained to you, helped you walk through why we're suggesting you make this change to your code. You can even go and see online documentation. Let's click on that. Move back out. And you can see that we're putting it into SQL Code Guard, SQL Prompt, and we're giving the information. We update this stuff on the fly. We'll let you know when we updated it. And we're maintaining documentation about the code standards that we're enforcing. And you can see that there's a whole bunch of other rules. We're going to go through some more of that in just a second. But the whole idea here is that we're going to create these code standards, let you enforce them. We're not going to enforce them for you, but we're going to identify them for you as you're typing. You see that if I hit select star, it's going, don't do that. If I do the old style joins, it's going, don't do that, right? It's giving me this prompt so I can make changes to my code. That's great stuff, but it gets better. Let's get back to Management Studio. And I'm not going to dock the window. I'm going to close it for now. Now, you also notice over here on the right, every place where I got the little green squiggly line, there's a little green marker. You see that? So that's also a way to look through the code and see what's going on. Now, we made a promise to you guys. If you registered for this event, you're going to get, as soon as it gets released as an ebook, my new book that we're working on right now, myself, Hugo Cornelis, and Tony Davis. Oh my gosh, can't believe I forgot his name. We're working on this book right now. It's going to be out probably in February, probably in time for SQL Bits if you're going to be over here in the UK. And it's all on execution plans. Let's take a look at the code I've been working on. It's all the code for the book. It's already, right here. So you're getting a preview of what's going to be coming out in the book. It's all live. It's all available now. If we look over here on the right, you can see that in a lot of places, I've violated some of the coding standards. So you can see there's little green lines. Now I've quietly, while talking to you, scrolled down if you've been paying attention. And so if we zoom back out, I'm not going to be quite in the same spot in the code, but you can see what it is. Again, zoom in just a little bit more. You can see right there that, again, we've violated that whole select star thing. And believe me, Hugo's mad at me for doing select star anywhere in any of the examples. Although there's a few places where we did it, I did it on purpose. And he let me do it after fighting with me. But let's see what other possible standards we've violated. Come on down here. There it goes. No, that's still select star. Come on. There we go. That's the one I wanted to see. Cool. I'm creating a table here. Oh, not null, not specified in a create or declare table statement. So I haven't defined whether or not this column and these tables are nullable. That's, that's not a good standard. It's not a good practice. You want to make sure, I don't care if it's nullable or not nullable, but we need to know which is which. So let's modify it now and make it nullable, just because. And you'll notice the next thing that happened over here is, again, it tells the next column. So it's going to walk you through identifying each of the things that you need to fix. I don't want to do that to my code. But you can identify each of the things you need to fix as you go. So it's not, you're no longer looking at the stuff on the fly. Now, hang on. I'm not done. There's one more thing we can do. Let's open up Object Explorer. Let's go to Databases. By the way, I have no idea what's going to happen when I do this. So this is an experiment in terror for me. Let's go to Stored Procedures. Let's open up one of the Microsoft things and see how they're doing. Why not, right? Doesn't matter. That one's good. Modify. And you'll notice we've already identified some stuff. Oh, wait, look at that. Set ANSI null's not on. That's a deprecated set option. Maybe we shouldn't be using that. What else have they done? There's another green little marker down here. If @language is equal to null, null comparison or addition in a substring, oh my God, they've written bad code. We can spot the stuff that Microsoft has done wrong. This is cool. Of course, these are examples in AdventureWorks, and the examples in AdventureWorks are some of them intentionally problematic code, right? So it's not that big a deal that we're seeing it here. But I just wanted to show you that you can see these things and identify them as you open up your scripts and be able to go through and do the checks. Now, what checks do we have available? Let's take a look at that. Take a look at SQL Prompt menu, and we can take a look at the code analysis rules. And so we've got a bunch of them. Now we've broken, whoops, helps if I don't scroll around too badly. There we go. We've got a bunch of them. We've categorized them and broken them up so it makes them easier for you guys to track them and identify which ones you want to enable or disable. I've got every single one of them enabled by default on my machine right now. That's the way it installs out of the gate. For demo purposes, I'll probably leave them all enabled as I go along. There's a couple of them that kind of irritate me. I'd like to change, but I'll probably disable some of them at some point. But by and large, we've got these things. So we've got the best practices. Make sure that your order by clause, make sure you've got, select and a trigger, insert without a column list, asterisk in the select list, top without an order by, cast and convert, use of added identity. Don't be using added identity, guys. But we can spot all these things for you inside your code so we can track these things down. They've got deprecated rules. We've got execution rules to ensure that we're executing correctly. There's miscellaneous rules. Table variable is declared but never used. That's very, very useful stuff. And then finally, we've got performance rules. That stuff gets me kind of excited. Schema names for procedures not specified. Schema names for tables not specified. If you're using prompt, that stuff should be specified for you, right? You can enable that in prompt. But if I was doing something else, I wouldn't be able to see it. And so that becomes a place where we're going to be able to track these things down. And we can, decide that, maybe we don't want to see, what's the problem that we had over here? Let's close this window for a second. Language null comparison. Okay, so if we look at the little drill down window, it'll open it up for us. And it tells us the code. The code is SC003. Okay, cool. That makes it easier for us to come back to here and track it down in our code analysis window. And SC003 is right down there. There should be no use statement in a batch, right? Okay, fine. Let's hit cancel. What if we want to go right here? And I didn't point it out. Some of you might have spotted it. Let's just disable that rule. That's a lot easier, right? I don't have to go in there and track all that stuff down. So now, it should go away. It didn't. Oh, it's a second problem. There were two problems, one masking the other. There we go. Now we've disabled both of them. Awesome. With both of them disabled, hey, the green little line goes away. Thank you. All right, that made me nervous. I thought I'd broken something again. I did break something the first time we did this. So, excellent. That's exactly what we expected to see. Good. So, basically what we've got now is not only does SQL Prompt do your code formatting, not only does SQL Prompt give you snippets, not only does SQL Prompt give you all the kinds of stuff that we've got, but we're also now doing your code analysis to help you ensure that you're getting a higher quality code out the door. Demo, we did that. So, by the way, no people were harmed in the making of this explosion. It's all cool. It was done at an air show. It's all fine. And not one of the air shows where they crashed the planes. This is a valid, safe one. The whole idea here is that by ensuring that we're getting more accurate code, by ensuring that we're getting more clarity in our code, not simply formatting, but formatting's important, not simply using the same approaches, comments, whatnot, although that's extremely important, but that we're actually doing a common analysis and a common approach to how we do this stuff inside the code. That's going to ensure that we're delivering a higher quality code faster. So it's not just that SQL Prompt formats your code. Yes, that's nice. It's not that SQL Prompt has, a fully functional type ahead where, IntelliSense is, that's great. But SQL Prompt is going to help you within your DevOps process, right? It's actually acting as an additional check on your code as you type it. And so this new functionality is going to expand things out. It's really going to open stuff up for you, and it's going to make a big difference in what you do. Now, just remember, the way you do this correctly is the commas go to the right. Now, if you have more questions after today, one, please email me, obviously. Two, go right into the SQL in the City hashtag and ask those questions live right now. Or three, go to redgate.com/hub and put those questions up there. Myself, Steve Jones, Kathy Kellenberger, the dev teams here they're all responsible for actually getting in there and making sure we answer the questions. So if you've got stuff you need to know after today, you've got a lot of sources to go and track them down. Now, we do have a question, one of the first questions coming in. Let's see. Someone asked, which versions of SQL Server does this support? Well, we only support SQL Server 2017. No, I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. If you go to the product page, you can see everything that we support, but I believe it's R2 and up. Oh, 2000 and up. Oh my gosh. 2000 and up. SQL Server 2000 and up. Wow, we should fix that. It's kidding, kidding. If you're still on SQL Server 2000, call me. We can help. Do we have anything else? Any other questions come in? Okay, well that's it then. Thank you very much for your time. Remember, commas go to the right, and if you have more questions, go to redgate.com/hub. Thanks a lot. Next up is Steve Jones.